bond markets, according to the Asian Development Bank. In the first quarter of the year, emerging Asia's local currency bond market reached $6.75 trillion, north by 12% on the year, with growth in the corporate bond market outstripping the government space. Iwan Azis is the head of the Office of Regional Economic Integration at the ADB and joins us on the line from Manila in the Philippines. Good to have you with us, Iwan, on the program today. I thought that the heyday, the real blossom days for bonds are kind of over. I mean, we've been benefited from very, very low interest rates in so many economies for so long, but we're starting to get involved in this kind of heated discussion about when things are going to kind of change and go back to normal. It looks like maybe the happy days have come and gone.
Yeah, it's not yet. But I think the fundamental issues here is that the market realized that this region still needs alternative funding resources because, as you know, Asia is still dependent so much on the banking sources. So long-term financing is very critical, especially for the need of infrastructure development. So bonds market is really the one that they're eyeing at now. And of course, there's also external factors like the news about delaying the exit policies in the U.S., Europe, and so forth.
Yeah, it's we used to talk, Iwan, as we have for many years, about how, and I'll use the analogy here, about how the bond markets, how the credit systems in Asia are very, very wide. I mean, the breadth is quite immense in terms of different the types of bonds, where they're generated from, the types of issuers, but the depth of the markets has always been a little bit suspect, and it's been a bit of a tough slog to establish the kind of depth of the markets that we need to avoid the historic problems of maturity mismatch. How well are we doing in that department about deepening really deepening the tenors of bonds issued here?
Well, quite well, because, one thing that we have to remember is that we are talking about a market that is relatively small. So if you look at, for example, in our latest report, the fastest growth is really in countries in which the market is relatively small, i.e. Vietnam and Indonesia. So like anything else, something that is relatively small bounds to grow. And as I said earlier, there's another fundamental reasons why this bonds market is having a good prospect in the coming years, because the market realized that they need this kind of sources of funding.
Iwan, it's Oriel here in Sydney. Let me ask you, out of the report, which was, of course, released to the market this morning, was there anything in the report that actually came as a surprise to you in terms of the corporate versus the government bond markets in Asia?
No, because the standard story that we have been observing in the last, I would say, 2 years is always it grows quite significantly, and the growth rate of the corporate bonds is higher, is exceeding the growth rate of the government bonds. And the yield is declining, with the exceptions of 1, 2, 3. And this last quarter of 2013, the first quarter of 2013, we observed, for example, the only 3 countries in which the yield is picking up are Singapore, Indonesia, and Hong Kong. But the rest of the region's yield is still, low and falling. So basically, it's nothing surprising in terms of the progress and the development in the first quarter of 2013.
So if you look at the growth in the bond markets here, I noticed that Vietnam is at the top of the table with 20.8% growth. China's down the bottom with 3% growth. How is this likely to change in the coming 12 months?
No, it's not much change because, as I said earlier, we are talking about a relatively small market there. So it's only expected that they grow fast. And, the fundamentals of the regions are still relatively good, especially compared to the rest of the world. So I don't see any shock things that might happen, except if there is something coming from, for example, Japan bonds market. But otherwise, like the Eurozone crisis, the U.S. crisis, I think it has been taken in by the market in terms of its impact on the Asian bonds market.
Iwan, appreciate it as always. Okay, we'll let you get back to the hard work over at the ADB. Iwan Azis, ADB, joining us from Manila.